LinkTree. Oh, I got to add myself in the stream. So I think I figured out how to finally somewhat loop the introduction instead of just having 2 minutes and playing it. Apparently, there's in brands this lovely thing called video clips, and then you upload your video, and then it'll loop. Wow. How do I wake up in the morning? That's a scary thought. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the stream. How's everybody doing tonight? Let me know in the chat. How is everybody doing tonight? Can you hear me? That is the important part. Then again, you might be happy not to hear me, not wanting to hear my ugly voice. Ugh. I thought I was all set, ready to go, and then 8 o'clock crept up on me, and now I'm trying to open this. Yeah, the stream's already fallen apart. This is a traditional readout production stream. It falls apart pretty early on, and then it's a bunch of rambling and mumbo-jumbo until I decide to end my suffering. Oh, A.S. Burnett is in the chat. How you doing? Glad you can make it tonight. So, as you can probably tell by the title, we're going to be having a interesting theme tonight. But before we get to that, we have a few let's call some house cleaning business. First of all, part 2 of the American Prometheus crisis I've been involved with. If you watched last week's stream, you'll remember I got a copy of American Prometheus. This is the biography on J. Robert Oppenheimer. That's the basis for the Christopher Nolan film, currently in theaters. Well, my last printing was, it was not good, not good. The text was a 1/4 inch off. It was bleeding on the side. The spine was bad. So I sent that back. I got another copy yesterday, and behold, oh my God, the printing's normal. Look at that. Normal prints. Yes. So I can now officially start reading American Prometheus. And once I'm done reading this, I am also going to read, or at least my intention is to read, The Make of the Atomic Bomb, because I've heard that book is the definitive account on the Manhattan Project. So I'll compare American Psycho, wow, American Prometheus with Make of the Atomic Bomb and see where the truth lies on what is shown on screen for Nolan's Oppenheimer. Probably actually once I'm done streaming, I'll be reading that. So that's the first house cleaning business. Second one, want to give a shout out to Bushy Run Battlefield. Now, a couple years, well, last year, was it last year or was it? No, it couldn't have been last year. It had to be about 2 years. Anyways, one of my earlier episodes of Retracing History is me at the Bushy Run Battlefield talking about the events that occurred there on August 5th and 6th, 1763. And as a recap, this was a battle fought during Pontiac's War, or sometimes referred to as Pontiac's Rebellion. It was a short-lived conflict, I should say, that occurred immediately after the 7 Years' War. The 7 Years' War was between Britain and France all across the world. Britain was victorious and took possession of North America. Various native tribes were unhappy with their relations with their new British conquerors, in a sense, and decided to fight against British rule. It's named after an Ottawa chief, Pontiac, who led a band of native warriors in a siege against Fort Detroit. And yes, that is Detroit, Michigan today. And many other tribes decided to take advantage of the situation and started attacking their local British fortifications. So you end up having this huge uprising all the way from Detroit back to Fort Pitt, which is present-day Pittsburgh. And they do it in a remarkably short amount of time. Remember, before the days where before you call your friend up to do something, this all had to be done through verbal communication across forests and rivers, no less. The British were kind of caught with their pants down during Pontiac's War. They were constantly in denial that the natives would be able to mass such an attack on their fortifications. And it also didn't help that since the 7 Years' War was over and the British were in bankruptcy, they're trying to demobilize as many infantry regiments as possible. So there was only a few hundred British soldiers west of the Allegheny Mountains to fight the native attacks. Eventually, they got a team of about 700 British soldiers who were commanded by Colonel Henry Bouquet. Bouquet went from Philadelphia, raced across Pennsylvania, relieving the forts that were under attack. On August 5th, his column was ambushed just about a 45-minute drive east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this became the Battle of Bushy Run. Now, it's very interesting because this is actually a multi-day battle. You don't often hear about Native warriors fighting for more than a day. That's just not how the guerrilla warfare style works. But in this case, it was a 2-day battle in the forests of Pennsylvania. Bouquet's forces were able to defeat the natives and relieve Fort Pitt of its siege. And as a result, British, and in a more broader sense, European expansion would continue and actually became more emboldened as a result of the British success at Bushy Run. So Bushy Run battlefield is preserved. It is kind of a quasi relationship between the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission and the private Friends of Bushy Run organization that both maintain the property. Every year they host a reenactment to commemorate this battle. Just so happens this is the 260th anniversary, and it'll land on the actual dates, August 5th and 6th, a Saturday and Sunday. So that'll be going on this weekend. So if you are in the Pittsburgh area and you're willing to make about an hour drive east of the city, you will not be disappointed. I wish I can, maybe I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. There is the schedule of events. Saturday, Native and British discuss reasons for Pontiac's war on the frontier. There will be a game of lacrosse, weapons demonstrations, and then in the afternoon on Saturday, there will actually be 2 battle demonstrations. And then Sunday, another demonstration of lacrosse, another discussion of the battle, weapons demos, and then they will end the day with the second day battle demonstration. I went the past 2 years to see the reenactment. Unfortunately, August is a very busy month for me, so I sadly can't go. But at the very least, I can shout it out and give them the support. All right. Well, that's the house cleaning stuff out of the way. Now, I know why you're all really here. Because, as you can see in the title of this stream, this is anime for history buffs. So in another bid of trying to get rid of any credibility I have as a historian. In fact, I have done so much to get rid of that credibility. I am in the negatives. I am negative credibility points right now. It's truly astounding. Anyways, we are going to be talking about anime, Japanese animation. And before we begin, I am going to make a poll. How do I make a poll? God damn it, Spencer. How do I make a poll? Shouldn't be that difficult. How do I make a poll? I did it before. How do I make a poll? Okay, maybe I have to go to YouTube. I want to make a poll because when it comes to talking about anime, there's always something on the mind. I have to go to YouTube to make the poll. And that is anime a genre or is it something else? So essentially I'm asking, is anime a genre or is it simply animation that happens to come from Japan? I am going to ask you in the chat, do you feel anime is simply Japanese animation, just happens to be a piece of animation that comes from the country Japan, or has it ascended to be a genre? I'm very interested to hear the answers to that. So that poll will be going on throughout this evening's stream. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, I'm going to done being distracted. So my journey with becoming what they call a weeb, essentially, long and winding road. As a kid, I enjoyed like Pokemon, and I always made the joke that I would wake up, I'd watch Pokemon, and then flip over to watch the Civil War Journal. I'm not making it up. I had a very rigid lineup for my morning activities before I went to elementary school. Anyway, it's an art style. Maybe I should reword that to say if it should include the art style. This is becoming one of these streams of all time. Every week is one of these streams of all time. I'm going to reword that. I agree with you, Burnett. I agree with you. What is anime? There. Okay, that's the revised poll think that's a little fairer. Okay, that'll be going on in the chat. So that's the revised. But the first one, I was just testing you. I was just testing you. Anyways, I'm falling apart. You know, I go in with notes and everything to keep me on track, and it just doesn't work. Anyways, as a kid, I watched stuff like Pokemon, but I really didn't consider it as something separate from my other Saturday morning cartoons. And there was a period of time where I kind of would hear the term anime thrown around the school. You'd see the stuff like Naruto and things like that, and I just go, "Oh, no, I'm not interested in that. I'm just going to sit and listen to Stephen Lang narrate all my Civil War documentaries. I'm a good old boy." And then once I started getting to high school, I definitely started changing my tune. Once I started really delving into some of the stories that you get in anime. Regardless, I got into anime more for movies. I'm not much of a television show person. Movies, I can pop in 2 hours, they're done. Shows, I can enjoy them, but over time, if I don't have the time to keep up with them, then I lose interest. So I started watching stuff like the movies like Akira, Princess Mononoke, and then I started delving more into the television shows. I started watching stuff, oddly enough, Digimon Tamers, because I heard people saying, no, the third season Digimon, no, not like anything else. It's not a ripoff of Pokemon. Watch Tamers. You'll understand. Then I started watching shows like Black Lagoon, which I'm actually just now rewatching. Boy, was I too young to be watching that. Even when I was just entering high school. Nah, I was not prepared for it. And all sorts of stuff. And I don't think I've seen... I've only scratched the surface on watching what anime can provide, but I definitely, if I'm going to watch at least a series, and it's going to be something anime related. It's going to be something anime related. I very rarely watch live action or animated Western television. I think Yellowstone's the last Western television show I've watched. And when I say Western, I'm referring to the hemisphere, not, you know what I mean. Anyways, I'm dying tonight, guys. And I keep saying anyways. This is it's the my immortal. It's the my immortal seeping into the brain. Those that know, you know. Why did I allow Billy to let me reread my immortal? Why did I allow him to do that to me? I'm not saying. Over time, the anime that I would get into most particularly, I would notice kind of was scratching the same itch I would have when it came to researching historical topics. That's not to mean these were historical themed anime, but maybe certain plot points, certain character arcs, or the settings were reminding me a lot of the time periods I typically research and explore. And as such, I've decided we're going to discuss a few of these anime that I feel, if you're a I didn't say historian, I said history buff. You like history and you've always heard of this thing called anime and you just looked at it and went, ew. No. Let me reconsider. There is some great anime that I feel history buffs can really get into. So starting off our list, I got to flip to the list. First and foremost is what is in the thumbnail. And that is going to be Golden Kamuy. Now, Golden Kamuy, for the record, just about any anime starts life off as a manga, which is just the Japanese term for a comic. Golden Kamuy started off as a manga back in the early 2010s, and then I think it was 2016, 17 is when it became adapted into an anime. It tells the story of Sugimoto, Immortal Sugimoto, who is a veteran of the Russo-Japanese War. And this was a conflict fought in 1904, 1905 between Russia and Japan. Essentially, Russia went in thinking, oh, we're gonna show them them Asians how it's done. They don't know how to fight. And they forgot that they were dealing with the Japanese military who were starving to kick European butt. And well, the Russo-Japanese War did not go well for the Russians. If you've ever heard of the Second Pacific Squadron, boy, is that a perfect encapsulation of all that was wrong with Russia before the revolution and all that was right, at least in the doctrine, the military doctrine of the Japanese Army and Navy. So Sugimoto, he is a veteran of that conflict, and after the war, he goes to the island of Hokkaido. It's the northernmost island for the main island chain, Japan, and he's heard that there's promise of gold, and he wants to pay off the debt of one of his friends who was killed in action. So there he goes up, he's panning for gold, and he hears the tell that there is a group of about 20 prisoners that escaped, and they all have tattoos on their backs. And these tattoos, if you put them all together, makes a treasure map for hidden gold of the Ainu people. And the Ainu people are the people indigenous to the northern sphere of Japan. And I know this is the whole can of worms open up. You got all these indigenous populations in Japan. And then you have the Yamamoto clan, if I'm not mistaken. And essentially the Yamamoto clan took over all of Japan and pushed the other indigenous groups into these isolated spheres. And to this day, there is still much tension between these indigenous groups and the main Japanese government. Kind of not dissimilar to how the United States still has tense relations with the surviving remains of native tribes. So look, hey, this is not just a United States problem. This happens all across the world. Sugimoto discovers about these tattooed maps on the backs of these prisoners. He actually ends up, well, he finds one of the prisoners that gets killed for bear shenanigans, and comes into contact with a young Ainu girl named Asurpa. And Asurpa and Sugimoto decide to team up and hunt down for the gold. And as you'll learn, that Asurpa has some familiar relations involving the hidden gold. And you're going to learn that Sugimoto is not the only one hunting for the gold. In fact, I think there's at least like 4 or 5 different factions in the series, and they all get an equal amount of screen time. And that's one of the awesome things about Golden Kamuy. It has a fantastic rogues gallery of characters. They're all equally memorable, entertaining, horrifying sometimes. Just a few to mention. So you got Sugimoto's clan, his little team. That's Sugimoto, Asurpa, and Asurpa is the girl in the low right corner on the poster. Sugimoto got the scarf in the upper left. They also team up with a gentleman who is actually based off a real life figure. A lot of characters are based on real life figures. This guy's name, I do forget his name right now. It's been a little while since I watched the show. He essentially was the greatest prison escape artist Japan ever knew in the early 20th century. He's definitely a bit of a louse. He lays around way too much, but you know, he has his advantage, and he's overall a kindly-hearted person. So that is Asurpa's team. It's Asurpa Sugimoto's team. They have a small group. Then you got the team of, if I'm pronouncing this right, Neparabu, who that is not his real name, and I can't tell you his real name because that would spoil the show. Neparabu, he is the leader of the prisoners. He is the one that hid the gold, and he wants to now relocate it. And essentially his plan is he wants to turn the island of Hokkaido into the Republic of Enzo, which actually did briefly exist in Japanese history, and that was during when the samurai was revolting against the government there once. And if you're familiar with stories like The Last Samurai, things like that, that's where that comes in, the late 19th century. So once the Japanese government kind of had mechanized, in some ways had done away with the traditional Bushido code, there were so many smaller groups that were trying to make separate governments. So this is inspired by one of those tales. But Neparabu has to compete, obviously, with Sugimoto's team, but also got a team with the 7th Infantry Division of the Japanese Army, which are led in the story by a lieutenant. Again, I'm trying to pronounce. Me and pronouncing words never ends well. I think that's part of the channel. I need to sell merchandise to just riffing on me and my horrible pronunciation. And I do have to mention that Wrangler has gifted us 420. Thank you very much for that. Lieutenant Sarumi. Lieutenant Sarumi is in charge of the 7th Infantry Division. He might be actually my favorite character because he's just psychotic. I know it's weird to say I like him because he's psychotic. You don't know what he's going to do. He also has this fearless attitude, fearless nature of him that he'll just laugh most things off that all the other characters are freaking out about. He also lost his part of his frontal lobe during the Russo-Japanese War, so he got this like metal plate on top of it, and that's why he's a little psychotic. But his plan is to take all these disgruntled Japanese soldiers, move them to Hokkaido, and also break away, make it its own country. So that's what everybody, and that's not all those are just a couple of the groups hunting for the gold. There's currently 4 seasons out. I've only got to see the first season. I'm making my way for the second season now. My friend, the Humble Collector, is the one who suggested I should watch this series, and I think he's gone through all 4 seasons. And what he's told me comes ahead is it's equally as good as I've already experienced. So if you're looking for a treasure hunt series set after the Russo-Japanese War with a lot of Easter eggs for early 20th Japanese history, this is the one for you. This is the one for you. And a little bit earlier, A.S. Burnett had commented, I want to go see more reenactments. Athens, Missouri usually has a pretty good one in August. All right, so moving down the line, we were just talking about this earlier, and that is Princess Mononoke. Now, if you followed me for a while, you will know that this is my favorite movie of all time. I'm not going to fight it. That is my favorite movie of all time. The only movie that that always rivals it in my brain is The Thing. And you can see the poster back there for John Carpenter's The Thing. But those are 2 widely different films. Ultimately, if I had to go to the grave of only one, I don't want to say that because I mean I can't live without John Carpenter's The Thing, the greatest horror film. But for this case, we're going to be talking about Princess Mononoke. Of course, Studio Ghibli was going to find its way on this list. Well, no list would be complete. No anime list is going to be complete without a mention to Studio Ghibli. This is the tale of Prince Ashitaka. It is set. It's kind of set somewhere. What's the name of the period? I think it's set sometime in the 14th or 15th century in Japan. I think I have previously said it's earlier that it's around the 13th century. Since there are firearms in this, I have to put it at least at the 15th century to make it believable. I'm willing to go back to the 14th century, however. Reason being, I think it was at like 1490s is when firearms were introduced to Japan, and they're used throughout the 1500s. And then once Toranaga ascends the shogunate in 1600, they kind of do away with firearms. So yeah, since there's firearms in this, my headcanon is this is set in the 15th century Japan. 16th century Japan. Wow, I'm confusing myself. No, I'm ruining my credibility with each passing minute. Why hear you people here? No, please stay, please. Yes, 16th century. It's 15th or 16th century Japan. That's my headcanon, but I know people like to put it earlier, and even I think the directors think it's like more like the 13th, 14th century. But if I'm a historian, firearms. Anyways, it tells the tale of Prince Ashitaka, who is the last prince of a surviving band of the Amishi people. That's another indigenous group in Japan. And he gets cursed by a giant boar that breaks into his village. He's able to slay it, but at the cost that his arm is cursed. And if he does not get the curse treated, it'll eventually consume him with hatred and he'll die. So he is told to go where the boar came from, somewhere in Western Japan, and comes across Irontown, which is this, so I always joke, it's like Pittsburgh in Japan. It's this fortified city that's just recently been built on a peninsula overlooking this massive lake. And the people that go there are kind of the outcasts of Japanese society. You have a lot of ex-soldiers, a lot of people trying to escape emperors that are fighting in other regions of Japan at the time. You have girls from brothels. You have, who else you got in there? you have the outcasts. You got the rogues gallery that are kind of going out here on the fringes of the frontier, and they have discovered that there are large deposits of iron ore around Irontown and are smelting it in a Tatara ironworks. This has put them into conflict with the spirits of the forest that surrounds Irontown, and they are in perpetual battle. And Ashitaka decides he is going to try to find a way to find a peace between the two sides. Although he learns very quickly that is going to be easier said than done. The two warring factions that are in this, you have it between the humans, who are led by Lady Eboshi, and you have the forest spirits, who are led by the titular Princess Mononoke. Her name in the story is San. A lot of people are surprised that when you watch the movie, you realize that San's not the main character. She's only a side character. Why is she the namesake of the movie? Well, the creators thought it sounded cooler. Princess Mononoke, I think, sells better than the Legend of Ashitaka. That's just me personally. Why do I adore this film, and why do I think this would appeal to a lot of history buffs? So a lot of people rave about the environmental message in this film, and to be fair, it's one of the better ones. It's a very unbiased approach. It's not saying humans are bad and you must reject everything. It's not doing the preachiness that Western movies tend to do when it comes to dealing with that. Looking at you, Avatar. The movie, not the show, which is not related. See, I get flustered easily. Why I actually appreciate this is not its message on environmentalism, but it's a message on war. It takes a very unbiased approach. Ashitaka is trying to see, as he words, its eyes unclouded by hate, and you get to see you understand why both sides are fighting. They both are justified, but you also see the ugliness, and you see where their faults lie, and where neither side is completely clean in this war between humans and spirits. And for that reason, it's just been a movie that if Amy ever, I think it's probably juvenile for me to try to sum up my world outlook in a movie. And this is not all of my world outlook, but if you want to get a good gauge on my perspective of most conflicts and how I treat it, look up Princess Mononoke. So I'm going to one day do a proper video. I adore this film enough that I got a variety of different books and comics and just basically memorabilia that's been produced over the years about the movie. But for now, oh, I'm sorry guys, I'm getting so confused. I'm trying hard to, maybe I need to do 2 videos a week to try to keep my focus, keep my attention on, but I started having too much fun on the stream. I started having too much fun when I look over at the chat. Well, I use Ghibli. I don't usually say Ghibli. I think Ghibli, there's the whole debate, is it Ghibli or is it Ghibli? I'd pick Ghibli. I pick Ghibli. It's not really worth fighting about. I think it's actually an Italian term, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the story that Miyazaki took it from, like an Italian playing part or something. So it's not even Japanese. It is what it is. Ghibli, it is what it is. Ghibli is what it is. There, I made everybody happy. Oh, you just saw it about 2 weeks ago. What did you think of it? What did you think of it? Or were you talking about going to Kamali? If it was Princess Mononoke, tell me what you thought, A.S. Burnett. Tell me what you thought. Because it's messages of war. It's just an unbiased. I appreciate it for that matter. And it shows like, yep, war's ugly. Nobody really wins. We shouldn't be doing this as humans, or in this case, as forest spirits as well. Yet we keep doing it for some reason. And we always think, oh, it'll be different this time. Yeah. Well, if I've not convinced you with... Very good. Yep. It was the first Ghibli film I watched, Princess Mononoke. And obviously, if I say it's my favorite film of all time, it's my favorite Ghibli film as well. I would say, and I know a lot of people, when they talk about Miyazaki and his anti-war message, which is prevalent for most of his films, they usually bring up Howl's Moving Castle. Howl's Moving Castle's good. I feel the plot's a little bit of a mess. May or may not, because Miyazaki was not heeding Ashitaka's advice of seeing with eyes unclouded by hate, but that's just me. Well, again, maybe that's a video for another day. I can talk about my opinion on House Moving Castle. It's directly tied to the invasion of Iraq, so I would have some connections. But let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. Moving on. So maybe you don't want a serious take on war. Maybe you're a history buff. Maybe in particular, you're a military historian that's really just into the gizmos and you just want to watch them do cool crap. Well, I got the anime for you. Girls und Panzer. Yeah, that's an emotional whiplash. Princess Mononoke to Girls und Panzer. How do I explain this anime? Why is this anime on the list? I have regrets. Not really. I have one regret. Okay. This franchise, which I actually started as a show. It didn't. I think the manga came later. Is about these. It's about this sport essentially. In this world, there is a martial art called, I think it's tankering. They have a Japanese term for it, but I always forget it. You know what? I'm going to look it up right now. What do they call the martial art in Girls of Panzer? Because, by the way, I want this to become a martial art in our world. Okay, so the martial art is called Senseido, aka the Way of the Tank. And in this universe, Senseido is seen as a rite of passage for all schoolgirls. I don't know why it's only schoolgirls. It's an anime. Don't question it. And also they live on giant aircraft carriers that carry full schools. And that's also a rite of passage for people in this world to go to school on the ocean. I don't know why. It's an anime. Don't question it. And we focus on one particular team of Senseido artists and how they kind of start building their Senseido club for their local school. Their school had not had a Senseido club in many years, and only were doing it because the school's not as it's the little, it's the little engine it could. So they want to beef up their numbers, beat up their credibility. And it also so happens that the main character comes from a high-profile Senseido family, and there are spoilers as to why she moved to this school. She did not want to be involved with Senseido, but after much peer pressuring and this school president holding her at gunpoint, essentially. Yeah, what is it with school? Why are the student body presidents like the almighty in Japanese anime? Like, look at Kill la Kill. Yeah, I'm talking about Kill la Kill and Redoubt Productions. Who would have thought it? Anyways, you just essentially follow these Senseido teams as they compete against other schools in various tournaments using very detailed models of World War I and World War II tanks. Predominantly World War II. I mean, it's in the title, Girls und Panzer. I think she has like, what, a Mark IV? If Hemo Collector, if you're listening in tonight, what does the main team's tanks use? Let's look it up. I can just look it up. I gotta look it up. Because it's hilarious. Like, they just got a cherry pick of the litter of all the tanks that you would want to use. Characters. All right, so our protagonist team, which is Anglerfish team, they operate, a Panzer IV. Yeah, Panzer IV. The Panzer IV, the most iconic of German tanks. And it's an anime, so they're allowed to drive in German World War II tanks. It's cool when they do it. It's cool when Japanese girls do it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't question. Why are you questioning my insanity right now? Anglerfish team. Then there's also Turtle team. They drive a Panzer 38T. Duck team. They're driving a Japanese type 89B. They're not going anywhere. The Hippo team. They drive a German Sturmgeschütz free assault gun. Oh, wow. This is why I stick to the 18th and 19th century history. I don't do well with pronouncing these terminologies. And then the Rabbit team got a freaking M3 Lee. So, and it goes on from there. So they just drive around in these well-detailed models of First and Second World War tanks, and they duke it out. Now, you might be asking, wait, schoolgirls shooting each other with tanks? Aren't they going to get killed? Well, in this universe, there's a magical projectile that hits your target, explodes, but doesn't kill anybody, or breach the hull. Don't question it. It's Girls in Panzer. If this sounds like fun, definitely watch it. I binged the first half of the series at a humble collector's house a few weeks ago, and I'm longing to return to it. So this is just a good sit back, kick back, and go, oh, I know that tink. Cue the Leonardo DiCaprio gif from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. All right. So we're just going to put a comment about Princess Mononoke, this dark and serious movie on this colorful array of characters as the backdrop. As Burnett, my favorite part is when Ashitaka saves San in a very masculine way, and San saves Ashitaka in a very feminine way. Oh, yep. All right. Moving on, moving down the line. So maybe you're looking for an anime, you're looking for a show that's just slow paced, can just take it in. Maybe you just want to focus on 2 or 3 characters, but you would like a more of an older setting. You don't want your modern contemporary setting. Maybe you want something, maybe 13th, 14th century Europe. Well, I got the anime for you. Yeah, you know this one was coming. Yeah, if you're from the Gilded, you know me. I cannot escape talking about Spice and Wolf on this stream. All right, so Spice and Wolf. It's set in a unspecified European-centric medieval feudal system. You don't really need to know. Like, they also have an all-seeing church that they don't explain what denomination that church is. It's just the church. We know what church you're referring to. Anyways, goddamn. I immortal. Spice and Wolf follows the tale of Kraft Lawrence, who is in his mid-20s and is a traveling merchant who goes town to town, making ends meet with his hopes of one day that he can settle down and open a shop. Well, his life changes one day when he happens to go into the town of Paslow, which hosts an annual harvest festival. Like here in Western Pennsylvania, where we have an ungodly amount of festivals in the fall that all kind of started because of the harvest season. Anyways, goddamn, I immortal. Anyways, where's Trippy and Maji and Billy? They should be watching us, just going, look at this man, just keep tripping up and having flashbacks to my immortal. At Paslow, Lauren stops. He comes around once a year, and he happens to stop when the local harvest festivals occur. And the festival is dedicated to the deity known as Holo, who is a wolf deity that, legend has it, came to Paslow to bring great harvests. Now, by this point, most of the townspeople just do the festival laughing. They don't believe in the deity. They have moved on with the mechanization of farming. And Lawrence doesn't think anything greater of it until one night, Holo shows up in the back of his wagon. And Holo announces to him that she is very lonely, is tired of being mistreated by the townspeople, and would like to return to her homeland. So after much hen-hawing, Lawrence agrees, and Lawrence and Holo begin their journey through this non-specified European medieval feudal system, with the end goal of being getting Holo back to her lands in the north. And throughout their journeys, they get into a variety of different economic crises. Yes, economic crisis. Since Lawrence is a traveling merchant, this show is heavy on economics. Now, you might think that's boring. You might think, what's the heck is happening? What? But do not fret. I will say the show doesn't like hold your hand, but it does a decent job of explaining enough, setting the stakes up early, so when things hit the fan, you realize why Lawrence is losing his cool. They'll get into scams, people trying to scam different values of coins. We have people trying to jump the market on different bulk products. There's a lot of economic trickery going on. There's 4 main arcs in the anime, and then the light novel series, which, where are you at? Ah, there you are. The light novel series, it goes on. I think there's like 18 volumes, so the series only scratches the surface. The series covers 4 main arcs, each one focusing on a different economic crisis, and also showing how it impacts the relationship between our 2 main characters. So, in a sense, yes, the author used a wolf waifu to make you learn economics. If it works, it works. And by the way, Holo and Lawrence may be one of the best well-written relationships between a man and a woman in any type of media, not just anime. I'm talking period. Somehow the Wolf deity speaks more normally than most characters written by Hollywood writers in the 21st century. Who would have thought it? Spice Wolf was one of those anime that definitely made me change my tune on watching animation in general. Before then, I kind of figured, oh, animation or any animation, no, that's kids stuff. Why am I going to watch this? And then I sat, and I remember going in and watching this, going, what? A wolf girl? What? This has red flags. But I was proven very wrong. This is a great show if you want to learn some basic economic lessons. Don't take economic lessons from yours truly, but you can listen to Holo about it. That's fine. Well, we got one more anime to shill. If Golden Kamuy didn't sell it, and Princess Mononoke didn't get you convinced, if Girls in Panzer doesn't have you interested, if Spice and Wolf is not making you committed to anime, I got you 86. Now, this is another anime that was introduced to me by my good friend, the Humble Collector, and we actually have a second channel that we collaborate on called the Heterochromedia Podcast, and we matchmake the oddest double features. And the genesis, well, partly the genesis of that podcast was when I watched 86, you know what came to my mind? Glory. Yes, the 1989 movie starring Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington about the creation of the 54th Massachusetts. And we decided to compare 86 and Glory, and well, the rest is history. And now I'm reading the worst fanfic known to man on that podcast. You like my nervous drink? Every time I have to say my immortal. The previous one was Spice and Wolf. This is 86. 86 tells the tale of a group. It's a mecha, and for those that don't know what a mecha anime is, it's an anime where everybody fights on giant robots. Now, usually these look like giant blocky transformers. 86 is kind of changing the mold on that. These are more like spider-like, fast-moving mecha, and boy, are the battle sequences breathtaking in this show. 86 tells the tale of a division of these pilots who are, how do I put this? They are outcasts of the Republic of San Mongolia. And the Republic of San Mongolia looks great on the surface. It's a small country surrounded by wasteland. The world is going to crap because basically Skynet has taken over. You know, you'll have that happen. Skynet has taken over. All these robots have gone rogue and have destroyed the countryside, and humanity is at war with this version. It's not, okay, obviously it's not called Skynet, but you know what I'm saying. And all of these surviving countries have kind of become isolated from each other, especially the Republic of San Mongolia. And the Republic of San Mongolia has an ugly truth to it. You will notice that all the people walking the streets of San Mongolia have white hair. No other colors, simply white-haired individuals. That is because anybody who does not have white hair were declared declared icky, gross. They were declared lesser human, and they were thrown outside the city into the 86th district and forced to fight against these robots. Yes, you know where this is. You know what this is an allegory for. And the main story focuses on two characters. We have Lena, who is the white-haired individual in the picture, who is a major in the San Mongolian army. And essentially what the military does, they don't actually fight. No, the officers, they go into game rooms, essentially, and command their troops around on the actual battlefield, hundreds of miles away from where the actual fighting's occurring. And most of the officers are taught and believe that these people that are fighting for him, the 86, are lesser human, that they're simply pigs, and if they die, oh well, it's like losing a game piece in a game. Except Lena. Lena's the only one that it's bothering her because she knows they're real people. The other main character is the leader of Lena's division of the 86, who we know simply as Ren or no, wait, Shin. Yeah, because it's Shin and Nozen, aka the Undertaker. Yes, he's called the freaking Undertaker. That's his call sign. The reason he's called the Undertaker is, well, he seems to have a connection to undead people. He seems to be able to hear the voices of the dead. I can't go into more details on that. Spoilers, gotta watch the show. And we go back and forth between Lena's perspective and Shin's perspective on the battlefield as Lena tries to get the higher ups in the Republic of Semagolia to realize, hey, this idea of ostracizing non-white haired individuals onto the front lines and basically send them to die, not going to save us, not going to end well. We're only creating more enemies, and eventually the enemies are going to overwhelm the 86 and overwhelm all of us. Meanwhile, Shin is trying to keep his division in one piece as best he can. And we start the anime off, I think there's like about 100 people in his division, but within the first 10 episodes, you're down to only 5 key figures surviving from Shin's division. And eventually you'll get Shin's division gets to go off into no man's land on a suicide mission. They don't die. They nearly die, but they don't die. And they end up coming in contact with other countries. And I'll leave it at that because I'm already spoiling too much. Why am I suggesting 86? It doesn't really seem to have anything historical in it. Well, it's like I mentioned earlier. This tale of a military unit that is that's made of individuals that are typically ostracized by your country, but you're having to serve for them, and you are wanting to serve them proudly to prove that your overlords are wrong. Sounds pretty similar to real world cases. I mean, I brought up Glory about the 54th Massachusetts. It was the first official all black regiments during the American Civil War. There were earlier ones, but it was the first one that was actually raised and went into combat, officially raised by the United States government. You also have the who were they? I know, I gotta look them up. Look, I don't do World War II. I did the 440. Oh, who were they? Are they like the highest? If they like the highest decorated? Well, that can't be right because that's Johnstown. Decorated Italian. Yeah, this is what we're doing, folks. No. Oh, there they are. Yeah, or in that case, the 442nd Infantry Regiment, which was made I believe it was predominantly people. It was made of Japanese Americans, and if you know about the Second World War, you know Japanese Americans were thrown into concentration camps. Essentially, yes, I know they're supposed to be called something else, but they were concentrated into an area. They weren't extermination camps, but they were concentrated into areas. And yeah, I have my bones with those actions that Roosevelt did during the Second World War, but that's a video for another day. At any rate, it's interesting to point out there was a unit of Japanese Americans called the 442nd Infantry Regiment. They served for the United States while Japanese Americans were being corralled into camps, mind you. And they actually ended up becoming the most highly decorated military unit in American history as a result. So, you know, this is a tale that is repeated in history. These military units that are formed with individuals from individuals who would normally be oppressed in the country of origin, but go off to fight for this country and do it proudly. So I feel 86 definitely parallels a lot of these events in history on that end. So there you go. 5 anime I recommend that if you're a history buff and you've heard of this thing called anime, but unsure it's for you, well, Golden Kamuy, it's a treasure hunt set just after the Russo-Japanese War, including a lot of shout-outs to various figures in 20th century Japanese history. Princess Mononoke is, in my opinion, set in 15th or 16th century Japan and gives in my opinion, the best depiction of the cost of war Girls und Panzer, if you want some fun with World War I and World War II tanks, please make Shensido a real sport. Spice and Wolf, if you want a more laid-back leisure tale in a non-specified medieval Europe setting involving a wolf girl, if that's what gets you interested in things, and 86, which can be seen, you can see a lot of parallels in the story of 86 to the 54th Massachusetts or the 442nd Infantry Regiment. All right. Anybody have any pickers before we leave tonight? Anybody have a certain one of these series and movie that kind of reached out to you and you're considering watching it? Let me know in the comments. While you let me know, we are going to go. And before we wrap up tonight, I always like shouting out new additions to our culture, to our, I guess you want to say, our collective zeitgeist. Because in my opinion, the mainstream culture, or at least what big conglomerates are feeding us, is not very healthy, not very good for us. It's making us very divisive, make us fight each other a lot. I don't want that. I want some new culture. I want news stories. That brings us to Webs and Shadows, strange stories of Barsetshire. In a quiet corner of England lies the country of Barsetshire, nestled between Somerset and Wiltshire. This royal landscape is of little note to the average Briton today, who see little more than woodlands and fields and not the strangeness that lurks beneath. In the shadows of the Lowbold, in the back alleys of Barchester, mystery abounds if you know where and how to look. Webs and Shadows pulls back the curtain of the hidden history of Barsetshire, from the aftermath of the Ice Age to the end of the Second Elizabethan Age, and contains 9 weird tales set in the edge of nowhere. Pierce the webs and cast light into the shadows as you thread the secret paths of Barsetshire between the first and final champions of the British Isles. And this anthology is put together by Paul Leon, sorry, I guess it's probably Leon, who published earlier in the year Third Crown and Other Weird Tales. So this is going to be kind of in the same field. Now, why I picked this one up, because this was an anthology of different weird tales that tend to involve the military. They were all military-themed events, at least the ones I've read thus far. So Paul Leon seems to have a thing for writing anthology stories in historical settings. So I am definitely looking forward to get my hands on this. Unfortunately, I don't have time to read it, partly because, well, look at this tome. But also because I'm actually currently reading Bound for the Sticks, Bonzar Bokel's book, trying to fix American Prometheus. You can't see up here, but I'm currently putting on a shelf of just biographies up here to try to give me room for my other bookshelf. Then we got the fictional bookshelf, which hopefully I fill that out in no time. Yeah. Oh, just one random tangent. I wasn't expecting this to come in today. Hey, look, it's a Wreck of 7. I have nothing to say about this because this is a History Channel. But hey, Wreck of 7 came in the mail today. Didn't think that was coming for another week, so very excited about that. Very excited about that. Yeah, definitely watch Spice and Wolf. Like, I am the worst salesperson. I honestly am. I feel I'm better selling something in person or in my head than out loud. But Spice and Wolf, like I said, definitely changed my tune on anime, changed my tune on watching anything involving a romance, changed my tune on economics. It made it in some, it still has moments where I go, what are they saying? But you just have to like take a deep breath, rewind a little bit, go, oh, okay, I got it. But for the most part, the show does a very good job laying the groundwork, teaching you, okay, these are the economics and going from there. And because a lot of it is, Holo has a legit interest in getting involved with economics, because this is Lawrence's job, and if she wants a chance of getting back to her home, she wants to be an equal partner in helping Lawrence in his travels. So Lawrence is teaching Holo a lot the basis of economics, and therefore we're being taught as the audience the economics. Also, Holo and Lawrence are both just fantastic to listen to, especially, I know you always have the people that debate dub or sub. Normally I watch a show in dub. I understand it originally made in Japan. I usually put it up in dub. And then usually if I'm really liking it, I'll put in the sub. Now, don't get me wrong. I've watched shows in sub. Actually, what did I watch? What show did I watch Holden's? Well, no, 86 I watched dubbed. Although the sub's pretty good as well. I actually, because when I was watching 86, it was actually while I was being simulcast. So I kind of flip-flop between the two so I can keep up to the story as soon as possible. I don't want to be some. Oh, Girls on Panzer, I'm watching that subbed, but you kind of have to. The dub's little meh. Anyways, Brianna Palance is who plays Holo in the English dub of Spice Wolf. And then J. Michael Tatum plays Kraft Lawrence. Their chemistry is fantastic. Just look up a few little clips. I'm telling you, I know dubs are annoying, but if you're saying dubs are annoying, you gotta listen to Palance and Tatum's performance in this. I feel it's the exception. That being said, Spice Wolf also got the original casting choice was fantastic for both in the Japanese as well. And actually, they're bringing, at least from what I heard, they're bringing the original Japanese voice actors back for the remake. So very excited. Very excited. Well, folks, hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching me flumble through my lines. You know, one day I'll be able to say a coherent sentence. But that day ain't coming for many, many more years. So before we leave, if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit the like button. If you've stayed the whole way, let YouTube know you stayed an hour, that you're crazy enough to stay a whole hour by hitting the like button down below. And if you want to be notified when the first, oh my God, the My Immortal ruined my brain. I'm not even drinking beer tonight. I'm just drinking a Fresca. Yeah, I'm being a wimp, but I'm drinking my Fresca. Yeah, I know. If you want to be the first notified when I go live, Uncut History is typically Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but sometimes I have to change it to fit into my work schedule. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to go the extra mile in support of me, you can buy me a cup of cappuccino through Ko-fi, the link of which is in the description below. So let me go hit this icon right here. Where are you at? Where are you at? I need a very special thing. There it is. Crash and burn. Make a fool out of myself. Ostracize myself from the history community. Things of that nature. Thank you. Until next time, listen to the good music.